Dear our esteemed viewers, the second episode has started. Stay connected. As you have mentioned, it is foreign companies like American, European, and Asian that have been dominating investment in Africa. How are they affecting African investment, or how are they affecting Africa?
They are actually affecting Africa in a way, in such a way that their presence in Africa is making it impossible for the young people who are very creative to prosper. You get so and because they have these resources already in them, they have the machineries and all of that. So if you're coming on board and you lack one or two things, and maybe your competitor has it all, there's no argument that you will lead in that case. So you see most of the thriving sectors in Africa today, most of the thriving commodities, services, products are not African made, are not owned by Africans. They are foreign based companies, investments in Africa. And this is another colonialism in Africa. This is a modern way of colonizing Africa. And if you see an African child or African youth who is so good or very creative, you see the West rush thing, they'll give the guy, or if he's a boy or the lady scholarship, take him to UK to study. And after study, they will use him there. That's another modern colonialism in Africa that we need to look into. They are taking our best away from us. Okay, and they're coming in to dominate our market in all ramifications. And they're also not allowing our creative minds and young people to thrive by dominating the market. This is a modern way of colonizing Africa again. So I think we need to look into this deeply because if it continues this way in the next 20 years, I'm scared in what will happen in the next 20 years because it will no longer be what the Africa we envision. We will be strangers in our own Africa. We will be strangers in Africa. You will agree with me that you will not find even a single product of or a single service or investment of Africa in African soil. So this is a very big concern that we all need to look into in Africa. So I think teamwork can go a long way, to to uh, uh to disrupt the process, this Western investment in Africa. Collaboration, teamwork, and then yeah, to go a long way to disrupt it if we are ready to fight it. Yeah. So if I want to give you an instance. Now, in instances, you imagine I you are sitting down, and then I came to stand in front of you, standing up. You agree with me that someone coming up opposite on the opposite direction directly will not see you. The person will only see the person obstructing you or standing, not you. So that is what the investments in from the West are doing in Africa. It's obstructing the investments of Africans in the continent. It's obstructing a lot, and then and the major concern about this is they partner with our leaders using street mouth to convince them, and then giving them a mouth-watering offer. You understand? To why they should impose on us their investments and services in the African soil. So and so doing, they obstruct. You understand? And then when you obstruct, you weaken somebody. You weaken the if somebody is struggling with creativity, coming up with this and all of that, and you giantly come and stand in between with your heaviness, you obstruct a lot. So this is the major concern and the major reason why we have not thrived, why African investments have not thrived in the African in Africa, and this is the major reason why the Western investment is thriving fast in the African continent.
Africa has been a fertile ground for global powers proxy wars for many years. For how long should this trend continue?
Now, you see that before colonization, during colonization, the West discovered the abundant resources in Africa. That is why they came. You can't come to someone if that person has nothing to offer, because they see the European, and all of them saw what Africa has, and that is why they came for Africa. Do you think if we don't have resources, do you think these people will have any interest in Africa? No, they have interest in us because of the resources we have, right? So that is why we have, and then then to deceive us and make away with our resources, they came with what they came with the story they came with, right? So in answering your question, now if you see in countries where these conflicts are going on, this war are going on, you will see abundance in resources. You see in Sudan, the resources found in Sudan. You see in other countries, even here in Nigeria, you see resources found. So what these people do is they will come, they will find a way to instigate war, brothers against each other, Sudan fighting against each other. All right, in a way, in a destructive way, to distract all of them, and then find a way to milk their resources. That is their interest. Their interest is in the resources, and that is why they are facilitating wars across this countries, across this country. If by tomorrow, uh, uh, Ethiopia discover gold, or any mineral resources in Ethiopia, in less than 5 years, there will be war in Ethiopia. And this war will be Ethiopians against each other. And if you dig deeper, you will discover that these wars are being facilitated by the West to get and then find a way to make their gold. In more than 10, after 20 years or 30 years, if God spare our life, you will see that the resource the West will now take over those resources. Before you know it, they will think they're helping you. After 50 years, you will find out that your resources is gone, and they have used it to develop their countries and empower themselves and build whatever they want to build, and you will still be in abject poverty. So you see the height and the level of atrocities, wickedness, and cunning these people are coming within Africa. So I'm not surprised that there are wars going on in most of the African countries. What I'm concerned about is the affected innocent citizens in those countries who should have a better life, but as the case may have it, they are victims of this. So that's my major concern. Otherwise, I have no surprise. So long Africa continues to have it all in the world, there will be conflicts going on, and these conflicts are being sponsored by the West. I will say this anywhere with my findings, and if anybody call, I will present my research, and then they have a question to answer. So that's it. This is why wars are going on. So the day after, when this war will end or will stop, is the day Africa, and especially African leaders, will realize, the day their eyes will be open, that this is masterminded by the West. The day they see their brothers as brothers and not enemies. The day they will stop selling their brothers for a peanut. The day they will stand by their brothers and not stand by the West. The day this war, this conflict going across the African continent will stop.
What is your idea on the Paris summit that African leaders attended and raised major issues? What are the issues in connection with even your project, that is climate? You can raise climate issues and other issues that African leaders raised on the Paris Summit.
The Paris Summit is the Paris Summit is a ground for world leaders and change makers to come and deliberate on issues that are affecting the world globally and see where solutions can be profiled. So, most of African leaders, including my president, was present in that summit. And then, as the world is going, and the major concern globally now is climate change and environmental sustainability. And these are the major issues discussed in that summit, especially by most of the African leaders discuss issues surrounding uh, climate change in Africa and environmental sustainability in Africa. And again, just few of them also talk about conflict and war and peaceful and the conflict resolution in Africa too. So, but then looking around climate change and environmental sustainability, I think that is a key area many people are focusing on, especially in Africa, because here in Nigeria, I see how what climate did to most people, especially farmers, last year, and a lot. So there's so much, a long way to go in terms of climate change and environmental sustainability. So in Africa, so I feel that that is why we at the untold stories of African women, we're looking at the untold stories of African women in technology, climate change, and environmental sustainability. The mission behind this is to see African women who are doing a lot more in technology, climate in the climate sector and in the environmental sector. Their stories, they were able to, what motivated them, where they are coming from, the resources these people use, and and how they find themselves to where they are, and what their achievements, their impact. So this will also inspire younger African women, okay, who also want to thrive in that path. It might not be this exact path, but they will see motivation and be inspired to see how they can solve a peculiar problem affecting women in Africa as relates to climate, environmental, and technology. So this is our own way of contributing to the global issue, especially as it affects Africa as a continent. Yeah. So
What is your evaluation of this Paris summit in addressing key issues that African leaders and all Africans have been asking for? Do you think that this summit answers these long-standing questions?
one thing about one thing I like about the Paris Summit is method of evaluation. Okay, so it's not all about talk. So their method of evaluation and the project execution is a top notch. So with regards to that, I feel that all the global issues raised, especially the climate change and the environmental sustainability, we are extensively discussed, and the way forward to this we are also highlighted. All right, so it's and then an immediate call for action was also done. Okay, so in few days to come or months to come, we will see the action summit being implemented in different countries not in the world and in Africa as well. So it might it come in form of interventions, it might also come in form of empowerment, it come in form of different types. So we hope that our leaders who represented us at that summit will also do the needful as regards to the immediate call to action to totally curb issues, if not to 100%, to minimal, especially in the sectors in the area of climate and environment.
What do you suggest Africans and African leaders do to have their long-standing questions answered?
Okay, I will give you an instance. I was opportune to be a student leader when I was in the university, and most times we have the parliament, and then we have the executive board and the legislative board. So most times when we come come to meetings, conference and meetings, and when we talk individually, yeah, I have my own issues, and this person has his own. When we talk individually, we don't achieve great results, and most of our questions and most of our answers have no profile, right? So when then at the long run, we decided that before we go to this kind of meeting, we should have we should decide on what we are presenting to the table, what we should what the particular problem we are much concerned about that way. So and when we start doing it, we start seeing changes. Imagine if all African leaders going for that summit decide that in this summit, even if they are talking about climate change, we are so concerned about the insecurity issue, the war going on in Africa. Let's in unity raise concern to this issue together, and all the African leaders talk about this war and cry in that song. Do you think there will be no intervention? Do you think the world will look away from that? Imagine all the 54 countries, all the 54 leaders all the 54 country presidents in Africa raise concern about this war and all the issues affecting Africa in unity. That's they will hear them, and that uh, uh, intervention will come, and that will stop. Even if the West has hand in it, they will remove their hand because it is global. So I think for their voice to be heard, they need to speak in unity. They need to be united.
How do you see Ethiopia's developmental projects like Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam and Green Legacy in contributing to climate change and its uses for other African countries and for the world?
Yeah, when it comes to the developmental projects in Africa, I give it up to Ethiopia. Ethiopia has been a top, it's been a top in that regard. The way Ethiopia carry Africa apart, if other country and other country in Africa, we do the same, Africa will be far uh, ahead of where it is today. So I applaud Ethiopia with those developmental projects, especially the green that has to do. In fact, what I was talking about someone that okay when I heard this installation last week in some secondary schools in Nigeria. So I spoke to them. In fact, I used all my reference center as in Ethiopia. Ethiopia was this. Ethiopia is this. Ethiopia is this. That we should. Okay, so most of them were like, I was even discussing with their teacher that if they can arrange for an excursion so that they can go to these children who can go to Ethiopia and see Ethiopia and see what Ethiopia has been doing and where Ethiopia is today. When I told them about Ethiopia having a different calendar from the rest of the world, they were all amazed. They were like, how is it possible? Right? So Ethiopia has been an ideal country for every African country in the world. So my take on this is for other African leaders to collaborate and emulate Ethiopia in this developmental project because it is a project that will transform Africa as a whole, that will bring the desired development and development we need and seek for in Africa. So yeah.
What to be done to make the whole African continent peaceful?
When it comes to peace, especially peaceful resolution or conflict resolution, it is not a one man's way. So for us to live peacefully, we need to call a roundtable discussion. We need to have a negotiation. So if peace should happen, the both parties ought to be heard about their pains. Why are they into war with this? What is their pain? You hear them, you call them to the roundtable, you negotiate. there's no peaceful coexistence or a peaceful atmosphere without negotiation. All right, so we negotiate. You take this, I take this, or you hold this for so period of time, and this I hold. There should be a negotiation. So for us to have a peaceful Africa in all ramifications, there should be a roundtable discussion among African leaders and African Union. There should be a negotiation in the conflict affected countries in Africa, right? And it should be spearheaded by Africans, African leaders, African peace and conflict resolution specialists, and all of that. So that effective, so that economic and development can thrive in Africa. If this continues, it will delay the development and economic independence in Africa. So we need a peaceful Africa for Africa to grow, and that can only happen when we have a roundtable negotiation between the conflict affected countries in Africa.
Have you got any final message for people watching us?
Yeah, I want to thank everybody watching us. Thank you for staying to this program. Thank you for listening. Just to remind you that Africa is the West can't develop Africa the way we want. We have the responsibility to develop Africa for ourselves the way we want it. So for us to have such development, everybody has a role to play. Everybody has a part to play in the development of Africa. So in any little way, you have been called to play your role. It might be in your school, it might be in your office, it might be in your family, it might be in the marketplace. Please be Africa and have Africa at heart. Thank you very much.
Priska Ogana, founder of Untold Stories of African Women. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much, Pampao. It is a pleasure.
Dear our esteemed viewers, this brings us to the end. Thank you for watching.